Hey guys, welcome. Let's talk about what is Nginx, architecture and how to configure that. Why Docker and what is Docker? Docker file, what is container, base Docker command. Till now we are building our application on node server to make application operational. In case of multiple requests, we need to deploy on production server. That is Nginx. I'll tell you a very simple thing. Once your application development done, now when you have to take an application to production, you have to make a build of the application. As example, suppose if I open any application, say this one. If I'm done with development now, what I have to do is I have to run on production. To run this application on production, you have to write npm run build. Once you run this build, what it do? It make a one build folder of your application. Now this build folder can run any over anything. As example, now see it's creating that. Guys, this have every single thing. Now if I go for production, I'll not go for anything. I just have to take this folder. Now this folder have index file. You must run index file on the server. It can be .NET server, it can be Java server, it can be Apache or Tomcat or IIS or XAMPP, WAMP, any server or Nginx server. So only point is we just need to know what is the way to serve this index file. For that here we are using Nginx. So Nginx is one of the most used server and it's a kind of a production server that we use. Now Nginx is a web server software by which you can make sure that your page load time is reduced. An open source software and provide HTTP server capability. Mainly used for reverse proxying, caching and load balancing. Is designed for perform maximum performance and stability as uses a non-threaded and event-driven architecture. Now what the architecture of our Nginx? Nginx use master-slave architecture by supporting event-driven async and non-blocking model. We have cache manager, we have proxy cache. Now we have worker. All the worker load is divided between multiple workers. Means whatever request come, it divide between multiple worker, and that's how your application work better. Now web server, application server, memcache or backend, all are part of a worker. So worker process accept the request and start processing the request. After that, master is responsible for reading, validating configuration. Also is responsible for starting, stopping and processing the workers. Cache manager responsible for expiring and invalidation of cache. How to configure that? Install Nginx, adjust firewall, configure the server port and check the working using Nginx type command. So now as we have to perform demo of running application on Nginx server. So first of all, you have to set up an Nginx server in your system. How exactly you do? Have one Nginx installed in your system. So here in this machine, we have Nginx installed. In this Nginx, we have one HTML folder. So the build that we made, we put that build in this folder here. Now after that, all the content of build will be available at this place. So it have an index file and all other file. Then in the same folder, we have one folder called conf, and in that we have one file by the name of nginx.conf. So we'll edit this file. In this file, what we have to add is we have to, even servers are there like this. You can run multiple application there. So we'll mention that our server listening to port 881, server name is localhost, location is slash, and we specify that the code should be picked from the build folder and this index file. Similarly, if I have to run one more application there, I'll copy the same piece of a code and paste it below. And similarly, I can say run on 882, give the build folder there and run the command there. But if in case you want to run the HTTPS application, so for that we have separate part. For HTTPS, we have to run a server like this way, but with more configuration. We'll give the port 443 because the default SSL work on the port 443. Then we'll give the server name here. Certification you have to download like a cert.pem and cert.key. After that, we'll have to give again our path from where to pick. Once you configure all these things in the nginx.conf file, you have to go to your Nginx and double click on that. Once you double click, it will start the Nginx server. Now we can go to port number localhost 8080 and there we can run our application. So let me go to port number 8081. Now ideally on this particular port number, your application is supposed to run. The same application which was running on port 3000 is now running on our port number, that is localhost 8081, and it will work in the same way as it was working. So guys, what exactly we did is we made our build. We'll put that build in particularly our Nginx HTML folder. That build is now served through the Nginx. In the Nginx conf file, we have mentioned our server configuration, where to pick and start that server. Later on, when we went to 8081, it actually start running that our application code. So this is how exactly we run our application on Nginx. Now, problem before container. Basically, what happens? Suppose I have one server, I have to run multiple application over that. So if I configure one server for Java, now I want a Python application. Now same server to configure for a Python, it become difficult at some time. And other thing, suppose what happened, developer say my application running, but your DevOps say it's not running. Why it's happened? Because of different environment. Now what we can do is we can make one single environment, and after that with one single environment, it become easy for us to develop that. So ultimately, my application is working in a laptop but not in testing production environment because of runtime drift, configuration drift, or dependency drift. So how we can sort out this? How containers solve this issue? Containers basically solution. How? It is a backup code and all dependency in single unit, such as it can run reliable from one computing environment to another. So you can say in a way that we configure everything at one place and just pass the configured pod to anyone. Why not a virtual machine? VM take up a lot of resources. It has full copy of OS virtual hardware, which add up a lot of RAM and CPU, whereas containers just support program, libraries, and system resources. Why Docker? Develop an app using Docker container, any language, any tool change. Ship the Dockerized app and the dependency anywhere to QA team or a cloud team without breaking anything. And scale to 1000s of a node, move between data center and a cloud, update with zero downtime and more. So Docker is a one of the way to create the containers, build, ship and run any software and anywhere. Docker is a tool that designed to deploy, build, deploy, run application and is by using container. It allows the developer package an application with all the requirements such as libraries and other dependencies and ship it as one package. It ensures that your application works seamlessly in any environment. Let me show you how we do that. Suppose I want to take this application to production. So first of all, I have to make here one file by the name of Docker file. Docker must be running in my system, and I make one file say Docker file. For Docker, you can simply go and say download Docker. We'll say here download Docker for Windows. So once you download that Docker, it asks you sign up and download one software. Once it is there, you see some icon like this. It says Docker is running. Now after that, here we create a file by the name of Docker file. So that Docker file is from Node Alpine. We're telling that just content that you get a new system. Now how you run it? Very first thing I install the Node.js, then I'll say work directory. Work directory is slash app. After that, we'll say copy package.json. Basically from this folder, it's going to copy package.json into a root folder, into app folder basically. Then we'll say run npm install. We'll install all the packages there. After that, we'll copy rest of the code in the root folder. Then we expose the port on which we want to run it. We'll say expose, suppose 8006, any port number I can say, and at the end, command to run the application. So we'll say cmd npm start. So now we have to make an image and then we have to spin that container. The application start running inside the Docker. So Docker file is a basic building block of Docker container. Docker file is a set of instructions that we have written earlier. So these are instructions that were already written. Now, particularly what is an image? Image is a read-only system that use and template and launch a container. Like we are pulling the node image there and we can create our own image. Start the base image that you have a dependency and add your custom code. When image is turned into a container, Docker engine, it take the image and read write file system. So what is container? Means once your image ready, you make a container. Docker container is a package with everything required to make the software except OS. Hence, application is portable. All you need is a library and setting up the software on any system. It makes container efficient, self-contained, lightweight, and guarantee that the package software will always run regardless where it deploy. Docker Hub is very particularly the way I'm saying, no, download that from there. Similarly, we have one place called Docker Hub as a GitHub. All the images are present here in the Docker Hub. You can sign in and you can see all the images are available here like this. So Docker Hub is a registry on the cloud that allow to push pull image that are officially available. So if you want any image, we'll say Docker pull. If you want to see all the images, we'll say Docker image. To run, we'll say Docker run and the image name. To build, we'll say Docker build minus t image name. To start container, Docker container ID and start. To login, Docker login, and to push, we'll say Docker push and your username there. After that, to see all the container, we say Docker PS. To stop, we'll give a Docker container ID. To kill or to remove or to completely remove or to go inside that, we do exec. Or to commit that code, we'll say git commit that image and particularly your say user ID of the Docker Hub. I'm going to explain you how exactly you can use your own cloud environment to run, test, and build the application. So Edureka is providing you a cloud lab, which is like a virtual machine. Even though whatever operating system you are using, they are providing you one complete Windows OS over that you can run, deploy, test the application. So basically for that we have this URL. We have to go to this URL and will provide username and password. Once I sign in into this URL, it's going to expose one panel like this. You will see all the labs assigned to you. So I have one lab, Node and React environment. When I say view lab, it's actually open another tab for this. They have their some credentials like this IP that you have to connect with, username and password. First of all, I have to start this app. So it's like a one cloud environment is getting set up for us over which we can do our practice. Once this cloud environment is set up, so how exactly we're going to log in? So I have to wait for some time unless or until it's not ready. Because if the cloud environment is not ready, how exactly we're going to run that? And the best part is this environment is completely say compatible for Node and React. So ultimately, whatever operating system you are using in local does not affect you to do the practice or to work on the React because this environment is quite friendly in terms of setting up the things. So once this setup, we'll see something called start icon that my lab is started and then I have to connect. To connect what we can use for a window people, you can use your putty as software, and for the Mac or Linux people, you can use the RDP connection through the Microsoft RDP. How it looks like, let me show you. Is more or less look like this. So here similarly putty also same kind of interface but bit different look. Now it asking me the IP. The IP of my machine. See, machine started. So I'll take my IP address. I'll add this IP there. Then once I add this, now I have option to connect. And once I click on connect, it asking me for one pass. Let's say username and password. Let's provide that. After that, it's going to start one interface for us where we can go and set up that. So let me just show you. So let's get connecting. I think it's giving some trouble. Just 1 second. Now it will ask you your username and a password. So we'll go and copy our username, we'll enter that username as well as our password. So after that, what it do is it connect us to one virtual machine of a Windows. Let's see. So this is the IP of that window machine, and I can see that this is connecting to my remote PC. Over that remote PC, I can do anything. See, in the Mac, this is my Mac. In this Mac, we are able to see our one window machine and have everything that you want to do. So I can create a new React application. I just click here. So I already installed the Node.js in this machine. So now if I just click here and say create React app and test app. So app say test app. See, it's going to create one complete React application for us that we can run. Your browser also running. So everything is running on this machine. Only thing is whenever you restart, you stop this machine. Every time you restart, it's give you the new IP. That's basically your public IP through which I can access my machine. The browser also working and this browser can also access internet also like this. So in short, we can say that this is a machine over which you should start working while doing your practice. And this is a virtual machine that is a cloud-based environment from the Edureka. So now building the Docker image of the application. In the last part, we make that Docker file. So let me just walk you through that. So I'll open our folder. That is a first app that we have a Docker file. I'll open the complete folder there. So let's see that. In that folder, we created one Docker file last time. So let's open that. Now, after creating a Docker file, that's our Docker file was there. I'll say 86. We configure that. Now, how to start working on that? Open your Git or Git Bash. We'll go inside this folder. That is CD. We'll go to desktop. If something is getting issued, simple, the very best way is just open your folder like this and run Git Bash here. Now, once you have a Docker file there, now what you will do is basically we have to run the Docker command. We'll say docker build dot minus t. We'll say Edureka training. Or the port number, we can pick any other port number also. I'll say 8088. That. After that, we'll go back and run this. Now what it do? It should not be space between the Docker and training, Edureka and training. It should be like this. Now what it do? All the 7 steps that we have written, like first of all, it pull the node image, then it going to make a one work directory, then copy the package.json, then do the npm install, then copy rest of the code into my Docker container and then run the command. You see, the very first thing it pulled that node image. Second thing it did is make a work directory. The third thing it did is make the package.json copy from root to our location. Then it write npm install. Now it's copy rest of the code from the our main folder to our say mainly our root folder. After that, it will expose the port number and start the application. In the meanwhile, I'll show one thing. If you want to see how many images are already present, so we'll run the command like that. So I'll open a one new command prompt. I think it's done. We can try here only. Now we'll simply say here docker image ls. Now it show me all the images which I have. And what's our image? Our image is Edureka training. You have to run like this. Docker run minus p. The port number on which you want to expose. We have given the port number 8088 internally running on the 3000 and then your image name. The image name is Edureka training. So I'll copy that and paste it. Now what it do? It spin this application inside this container on port number 8088. So in short, I can say that this is just the error. We can ignore that. So if I just again compile it, ideally what happened? Our node module folder is there. So what I can do is I make a one new build by deleting this node module folder, or for a while I can keep it outside. Basically both the node modules got clash. So we'll just take it out and let's just take it out and then again make a build and then again run this. So let me go from here. It's a better way. I'll take this folder and paste it outside. Now again I'll make a one build with some other name. We'll try this. We'll say docker build minus t and say training. I just changed to training to trainings. It make a build. Now try to run that. It's trainings. Now this time what it says, it's a port is already allocated. So we should make a different port number. That's not a problem. 889. We'll again make a build. Let's see 889 command running successful. After that, we'll again run this the build we created for trainings. So we'll run on the port number. First of all, correct the spelling 8089. Any port number you can choose. So let's try that. Now this time it have to start the server inside the Docker container. See, it's running on the particularly say localhost 4200 or say 8089, it's running. So let's go back and run the application there. Now on that particular port, this application also running guys, 8089. So in short, if you want to see our containers, our images, we can just go here. You want to see all the containers? We'll say Docker containers. Containers basically where it's actually running the application PS. Oh, it should be Docker. Now it's showing me all the container where application is running. So in short, we can say that this is how you run the application. Thing we have to take care is our Docker file. Thank you guys.